Now, I normally wouldn't start off my videos like this, but since today is more or less of a special occasion, I kind of wanted to start off the video like this and taking the time to mention our special guest, the Masked Man. I'm sure if you guys are aware of my content, or at least just anime and manga content in general, then you've at least heard of the name the Masked Man somewhere on YouTube. So yeah, today he's going to be hopping on a few segments of the video talking about, at least in our opinion, some of the greatest mysteries in anime and manga. The stuff that for the most part either really just keeps you on your toes or just has you continuously second guessing yourself on your self-made theory about said mystery. So yeah, his channel will be linked down in the description box down below if any of you would like to check him out. And with that being said, I'll catch you guys in the video. So when it comes to the question of what is something that gets you hooked, in this case, what is something that gets your full attention on a certain anime and or manga? I was recently asked the question, and at first I really had to think about what really makes me want to continue a series. That for the majority, I wouldn't really know if over time the quality of the series will decrease. And my first answer was that, well, of course it would have to be the characters or the world building of the story. I think that for the most part, that's what keeps me going when I originally first started a series. And literally not even minutes later is when I realized that some of my all-time favorite anime and manga all share one major key factor in common. And by the title of this video, you probably already guessed that yes, that's something that gets me hooked is a great mystery. Whether it just be about a specific person that for some reason has just so many peculiar characteristics about their character, or an object that over time has been kept a secret for many years, keeping the fans on their feet and keeping them in a loop that until the mystery is revealed, they can never get out of. And now, this might be very unusual for just an average watcher and or reader, but for someone like myself, this is what I strive for in an anime and or manga. So I guess with all that being said, let's just take a look at what some of the greatest mysteries in anime and manga really look like. Oh yeah, and there will be manga spoilers, so you have been warned. Now for starters, this first one might be a little strange to some people, but to me, I think that William Minerva, or as we know now, Norman from the Promised Neverland, has been one mystery that ever since the beginning of the manga that I just had to know. And by the time I ended up catching up to the series, it was closing in on the reveal of the big question of who is
William Minerva-san. 誰?
For many others, including myself, it was always the thought that this character would most likely be Norman, but due to the fact of just speculation, nobody ever really knew. And really, what left most of us in question was that even after the reveal of Norman being William Minerva, how was something like that even possible? Because if most people remember, William Minerva was someone who wrote the books that were left at the Gracefield house all the way back since the first few episodes of the anime and the first few chapters of the manga. So I guess for a lot of people as well, that kind of objected to Norman being William Minerva. And it goes to show because even with the reveal of William's face beforehand, not a lot of people could really make out if it was Norman or not, just mainly because of how much he had grown throughout the time skip and how much similar the original William was to Norman in appearance. With how things led up though to the moment of the big reveal was just remotely teasing in a way. There would be moments where you think you would be getting somewhat of information on William Minerva, but then a turn in the plot would happen and everything would just come crumbling down, which depending on how you look at it, made it all the more interesting for when the time came of the reveal of the big mystery of who is William Minerva.
Now when it comes to mysteries in anime and manga, I think it wouldn't be fair unless I addressed the character that very much inspired my own YouTube persona, the Masked Man, or Obito from Naruto. Now when it comes to this example, I understand over time, especially as it got near to the reveal, it was pretty obvious who Obito was. Tobi, Obito, Sharingan, it was pretty much given away at a certain point. But I think one of the great aspects, or if not what really helped the mystery of Obito throughout Naruto, was the amount of misdirections thrown around the series and the way that it was carefully placed from the very beginning. Because when looking at the overall mystery that was Tobi in Naruto, or the Masked Man, I think there are two mysteries in one. Who is the Masked Man, which was the easier one as I explained earlier, and how did the Masked Man become the way he is today? Because even if you already deduced the fact that this was Obito Uchiha, the big question is how did he become this person? How is he someone who was assumed to be dead, and someone who was a dear ally of Kakashi, and is now the Masked Man? The origin and the tragic past of the character Kakashi is one of the major subplots throughout the entire series of Naruto, and
あんたの一番大事な人間を殺してやろうか。一人もそんな奴はいないんだよ。もう
Having one of the bigger antagonists within the series be one of the key answers to that was something that added a lot of intrigue, which is the key aspect of having a mystery within the story. The purpose of the mystery is to bring intrigue into the audience and also to build up a level of suspense, that way when there's a climax within the story, they're able to really enjoy what is going on. But in the case of Obito Uchiha, it's slightly different, as since the reveal and the climax itself is pretty much given away early on due to all of the clues and hints, I think the biggest aspect of Obito's character is what happens afterwards, because once we get the reveal, then we get the backstory of Obito and how he got to the place he is today. The amount of different subplots that are really tackled within Obito's mystery as a character is insane, because whilst he's masquerading as Madara, he's able to build up another character who ends up being revealed later on in the series. And then once we find out that the masked man truly isn't Madara, and then we get to the deduction of he's Obito Uchiha, then we start getting the resolution of Kakashi's character and his origin as well. Essentially, the overall mystery of Obito is really a bunch of smoke screens, as when he's pretending to be Tobi, he's this goofy, careless, reckless, all over the place personality, and then when he pretends to be Madara, he's quite literally the most intimidating force at that point within the series. Now, if there was one criticism I would have towards it, is if you're gonna have the character's name be Obito, don't make the alias, which he goes by Tobi. Just a small hint. But overall, the ability to have one mystery tackle different subplots within the series, as well as have some sort of build-up, especially from very early on within the series, is a good way to handle your mysteries.
And I guess it would only be natural to add in something from Attack on Titan because, well, this manga is just filled with so many mysteries, it's almost impossible to keep track of each one. And really, when you think about it, just which one out of all of the great and ambitious mysteries there are within the series, it's quite difficult to really narrow it down to just the greatest one. And after many hours of thinking and discussing with friends, I came to the conclusion that the whole concept of the basement in Attack on Titan is, at least in my opinion, the greatest one in the series. Now, this might just be a very self-centered choice, but it's honestly what I think kept me so interested towards the first half of the series. And for a while, ever since the first season of Attack on Titan, it was something that had a lot of us people questioning what is in that basement, as well as it was a certain key factor that kept a hold on the consumer for years and years to come. At least in the anime, it took a toll on just everything within the story up until the point of the true reveal of what was in the basement. And the lack of hints of really what was in the basement was kind of frustrating at times, because we all knew since the first season of the anime and since the beginning of the manga that it was something that was very important to the story. Everything from the buildup of how Isayama set up such an amazing twist and such a great mystery pretty much changed the whole way we as the audience view the series, because beforehand, the series wasn't known to be set in a modern era of technology and science. Instead, it was made out to be in a more of a steampunk world filled with many surprises that most of us just couldn't understand. And that's something to take into account when being asked about such a great mystery within a story like Attack on Titan. A concept of a mystery that can change your whole perspective on how you view the anime and or manga. So that to me is what makes the basement in Attack on Titan one of the greatest mysteries in anime and manga.
Now, the next mystery I want to talk about comes from the manga 20th Century Boys. Now, for those of you that don't know what this manga is about, well, you're in for one hell of a ride. It pertains of this one group of friends, and then as they grow up, one of them ends up becoming this character known as Friend. And Friend is hell-bent on world domination. I know it sounds kind of a little wild, but just read it and trust me on this. The entire manga is about finding out who Friend is, and it is one of the craziest mystery stories ever written. It's a story that entertained me for at least like 200 chapters with the same one mystery. Now, Friend is the antagonist of 20th Century Boys, and his presence is thrown throughout the entire series, but getting into why he's a good antagonist is a completely different topic. But as for the mystery of who Friend is so brilliantly constructed in Urasawa's work 20th Century Boys due to the fact that there's constantly misdirections and different ways that he tries to bait the audience. When you have a mystery, especially a murder mystery or a mystery and trying to figure out who it is, it's very important to throw in moments within the manga to where the audience can jump to a conclusion. Therefore, the audience thinks that they know who it is, but later on throughout some revelation, you're able to completely deny them of that experience. In other words, say there's Billy and Tom, and say within the story you make it seem like it's Tom and it's all Tom's fault. So the audience jumps on Tom and assumes that he's the bad guy. But then the chapter afterwards, you actually reveal that Tom was innocent. It's kind of this game of cat and mouse with you and the audience that really is able to keep them on their toes throughout the entire story. Honestly, just putting the mystery of Friend and all that happened with that is just, you need to read it for yourself. It's a doozy to explain, and it's one that I definitely do not want to spoil, so I'm just gonna throw the recommendation of 20th Century Boys out there. But Friend is definitely a great example of using mystery to build up a character within the story.
And to really no surprise, I think that for the most part that this specific mystery is debatably the greatest mystery within all of anime and manga, at least from what I've read and watched up until this point. And there are a lot of series in fiction that have either been solved or that still to this day have yet to be unveiled to the world. And if you know me, you would know that One Piece is my GOAT, it's my favorite of all time, and one of the main reasons why is because of all the amazing mysteries that have got us all the way up to where we are now in the manga. So for something like the One Piece itself to be something that for over 20 years now has been speculated more than anything on this planet, it's something that for a lot of people that read or watch this series, it's pretty much at this point an achievement looking to be unlocked. And really, when it comes to just non-One Piece fans in general, it can be looked at as something that even they have heard of just because of how popular the question around the topic has become. I think that even if the majority of this video has been centered around the greatest mysteries that have been revealed, this one, even being that has yet to be solved, it's still the greatest one in my opinion because of just how far we have come so far. Everything up until this point right now has been for the sole purpose of finding and obtaining the One Piece. And taking a look at it from a retrospective, we still have a little while to go until we really get to witness that moment of either flipping to that page in the manga or watching the scene in the anime, because in that moment itself, it's just not going to feel real. I know, at least from my point of view, I probably just won't believe it at first because of how surreal the feeling will be. And not to gas out One Piece a whole lot, but that's literally just one of the many great mysteries within the series. And even then, the One Piece can be considered the most amazing sequence within anime and manga history because the amount of pressure one will really be feeling once we see the One Piece.
俺も一個だけ聞きてんだけど、一つだけの代表、ワンピースってのは本当に最高だ。宝がどこにあるかなんて聞きたくねえ。宝があるかないかだって聞きたくねえ。何もわかんねえけど、みんなそうやって命がけで海へ出てんだよ。ここでおっさんから何か教えてもらうんなら、俺は海賊をやめる。つまんねえ冒険なら。
But I guess that's just what makes one of the greatest mysteries in anime and manga. Once again, big thanks to the homie The Masked Man for hopping on the video, and as always, the link to his channel will be down in the description box down below if any of you guys would like to check him out. So yeah, that's all I have for you guys today. Let me know what you guys thought about the video in the comment section below, and if you guys want to leave a comment suggesting an idea for a video, be more than happy to do so. I love it in the comments, and maybe if you post an interesting topic, I'll choose yours and make a video on it. And guys, if you did enjoy today's video, make sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Also, forgot to mention, but there's a link to my Discord in the description box down below if any of you would like to join. With that, everyone, my Twitter is @AnimeAugie, and I'll make sure to catch each and every single one of you guys in the next video. Peace.